Hello and welcome once again to another episode of EDH Study Hall, brought to you by Cackling Carnarium and hosted by yours truly, known on the internet as Johnny Delivers. So we're retaking this again because my Wi-Fi clearly needs an upgrade, so oh well, here I am complaining about it. But let's get back into the mission at hand, which is me pointing my eyeballs at every magic card in the history of the game for the purposes of just making sure I didn't miss anything. Today we're redoing Dark Ritual because we had one little problem last time where everything cut out at the end, and let's see if we can keep this to 15 minutes because that seems to be a sweet spot. So Dark Ritual is an instant / interrupt for 1 black mana, adds 3 black mana to your mana pool. And when it comes to EDH, I would say mono black is about as far as it should go. And there's like Skitherix, the Blight, the Infect Dragon, and Sheldra, the Whispering one. There's a couple other mono black out there. That's where Dark Ritual would have a home, just kind of help give you that extra bump. It moves you ahead. It'll bump you up 2 turns. Land, you're on 1 turn. Play this, you're on 3 turns, and it goes towards something viable. But definitely make sure it's not just going into any deck with black, because it's not always a good fit and can very often end up being a dead card unless you have a very specific use for it or you can apply that mana. Moving down the list, next up we have, after Dark Ritual, we have Death Grip. Yes, one of these, as I mentioned before, the conversion enchantment. This is another card. The proper text is pay 2 black. Well, it's an enchantment for 2 black, and then the ability is pay 2 black, and you can counter target green spell. This definitely has validity in EDH as far as when we're talking about. Go to where to go? All right, so Death Grip. This is definitely valid in EDH when it comes to a meta that's heavy on some of the recursion stuff. For sure. Also, Muldrotha and Marin, they are both valid targets. This is something where decks that are counting on a specific commander, this will keep them in check. So definitely consider this if your meta calls for it, but do not just throw it into a deck because it has black. You want to make sure it actually has validity for what you're trying to do. Death Lace is the next of the laces. Basically, this one is an interrupt for 1 black, turns a card, changes something to black. Not a good card, and not worth playing in EDH. Death Grip, Death Lace, Death Ward. Death Ward, this is another one. So Death Ward is an instant for 1 white, regenerate target creature. And when we look at the set available in, it ended at 5th edition. This happens with a bunch of them. There's a lot of stuff you see in the earliest core sets that don't make it past 4th and 5th. New cards that could be reprinted that did the job better, or this card, for instance, this is a theme. This is something you expect from green. This is not what white is usually doing. I mean, white can have some regeneration for healing kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, there were other things that did the job better, and I think Wizards of the Coast kind of wanted to get away from that card. Demonic Attorney, this is another anti-card. Each player must remove this card from your deck before playing if you are not playing for anti. So unless you and your friends have some kind of a self-hello lose a game, the Coast doesn't condone gambling, which technically anti is. You'll never see newer prints of anything that says anti. Demonic Hordes, this is definitely a sweet spot kind of demon. You can tap this hand, and then during your upkeep you have 3 black pay 3 black during your upkeep, cast Revised. And ultimately, I mean, lots of people played this in release days. It can find a home in some EDH decks if it's like the theme is Demon Tribal, but there are better demons to play over this. Anytime you're running into something with an upkeep, this is a liability. You have to be concerned about whether or not you are going to 2-for-1 yourself. Basically, you pay your upkeep, and then somebody just spot removals this, and there it is. There's too much setback with this for it to be a very strong card in EDH. It's absolutely playable. And this is one of those cards where there's some schools of thought that tutors remove the variance of a game. They take away from the casual. To which I say, read the room and know your players. This is the kind of card you put in a deck when you're fine tuning it. If you are playing and then you have to measure how strong it's going to make the deck. If you're playing something that's kind of on the clunky side, then it's less of a concern, just because you are not going to have to worry about being too overpowered. But when we have something like Demonic Tutor, you have numerous other tutors available, like Vampiric Tutor and Enlightened Tutor, Mystical Tutor. There's lots of tutoring abilities out there that make this a redundancy. So a deck full of tutors is really a really strong deck, and it can take away from the game experience overall if the rest of the players are not equipped to like their decks aren't fine-tuned for it. I did look at pricing a little bit before. I would say you're looking to spend about $30 for a Demonic Tutor, depending on the actual set that you're getting it from. And you probably would want to consider getting this if you don't have one already. Not to talk finance too much, but I think at one point the revised version had been up and around the $40 range. And then what happened was it got that reprint in Ultimate Masters. And I think if another master set that comes along that's providing vintage and legacy staples doesn't print this card, it will probably see a price increase. Of course, I'm not a finance person. I'm guessing here. If you want a more concrete information, go and talk to people who actually do finance. But if you do not already have Demonic Tutor and you play EDH, by all means pick one of these up while it's at the $30 range, because there's a good chance it will stay at that price or it will go up. So after Demonic Tutor, we have Dingus Egg. This is really designed for a Punisher's deck. This is for land destruction. This is for, and it's not that, really it's not that strong of a card for the EDH as far as I'm concerned. It's four colorless mana for a static ability for an artifact. Whenever anyone loses a land, basically whenever a land is put into the graveyard from play, Dingus Egg deals 2 damage to that player. And it's one of those things where like you're counting on Dingus Egg staying in play, you're counting on being able to destroy your opponent's lands, and the land destruction ability, the strategy is not necessarily the strongest. So maybe it can there's better ways to go, I think. Moving on, next is Disenchant. So Disenchant's been around for a long time and has seen lots and lots of printings. Disenchant is 1 and a white for an instant speed. Target enchantment or artifact must be discarded. That wording is awful. The proper Oracle text is destroy target artifact or enchantment. And this is definitely valid for EDH. If you are playing a deck that is leaning on instants and sorceries, this is definitely worth having because there's plenty of targets to go after in just about any meta, really. But I'm reluctant to push instants in EDH, but I would say a little better and more repeatedly. Unless still going, oh boy, let's find out. I don't know what's on the menu for this evening. Let's see. The menu is beta, and we're slowly working our way through here. Let's see. I think when trying to reconnect, is it still bad? Is it still dead? I'm gonna lose my mind. Just gonna check here. I am probably talking to myself. And let's see. No, I think we're there. Okay. Beta, yes. Okay. Yeah, how you doing, Eric? I've been having some internet connection issues with my computer, so it's starting to drive me a little batty here because says the Wi-Fi just likes to crap out on me, and then I'm like talking to myself, and I'm just a crazy person then. But right now, I'm physically pointing my eyes at every Magic card in the history of the game, and I've just 4 or 5 years to actually get that. So we'll see how long I can do this. All right, and so what we're looking at, oh yeah, and this keeps cutting out. I'm gonna have to wrap this up soon because I don't know if my internet can handle much more. It's having issues. All right, so we're up to Disintegrate. This spell is I don't see it as playable for EDH. The problem being that you have to pay X and red for a sorcery. Let's get some better Oracle text here. Let's see. I'm just keeping an eye on my connection here. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to do that. As a miracle that the Thin Street episodes haven't been completely nerfed with the Wi-Fi, and I've been running into issues. So I'm gonna have to figure something out like pronto. I don't know. I'll have to figure out the hardware. So yeah, Disintegrate here is X in red for sorcerer. Disintegrate deals X damage to target creature or player. That creature can't be regenerated this turn. If this creature will be put into the graveyard this turn, removed from the game. It's fun that you can exile something with this, but at the end of the day, I really think there are better things to do. There are better X spells. Even Fireball is better than this. Comet Storm is better than this. There's lots of red X spells with more reach than this card. So fun and cheeky kind of card, but I would go another way if I could. So that was Disintegrate, Disrupting Scepter. Let's go Disrupting Scepter here. Disrupting Scepter is a hand destruction card. I'll go to a newer version for some proper Oracle text kind of thing. Three mana for an artifact. You pay 3, tap, target player discards a card from his or her hand. Play this ability only during your turn. Now, I mean, it's annoying that it's not available at instant speed when it's on an artifact like this, but at the same time, most of your hand destruction is never going to be at instant speed. I can't remember if there are any cards that do that, but this is definitely in EDH. I don't know. In EDH, if you're trying to destroy people's hands, you're trying to hit all of your opponents. So this one doesn't quite cut it for me. I think you want to find other things to do with that mana. After Disrupting Scepter, we have Dragon Whelp, a card that I did not appreciate properly in the earliest days. And we're going to go to a newer version here. It's 2 and 2 red for a dragon. So it fits the dragon tribal, which is relevant. And we've got flying 2/3 body and pay 1 Dragon Whelp, or pay 1 red. Dragon Whelp gets +1/+0 until end of turn. At the beginning of the end step, if this ability has been activated 4 or more times, sacrifice Dragon Whelp. And it's basically, imagine a Dragon Whelp running up to your opponent and just exploding. And that's what's happening here. That's the way Dragon Whelp worked. And it never dawned on me when I first played with this card back in the earliest days of Magic that I was like holding back. I didn't want to kill my Dragon Whelp when I was like 2 points away from lethal. All I had to do was pay more mana, and that was it. And I always thought that was going to like kill the Dragon Whelp before the end step. I wasn't reading it correctly. So it was foolish of me to like make that mistake. It is playable in EDH so far as it is a dragon themed deck that would be wanting that card. But outside of dragon themed, I wouldn't play this in EDH. Outside of something, if you've got Dragon Tribal, then play it. Otherwise, keep it in the box. All right. Let's go to Drain Life here. I think we'll wrap it up on Drain Life just because I don't trust my internet at this point. And yeah, Drain Life is 1 and black, and it's technically an X spell. However, the wording on it was very specific version of this that was showed up in later core sets. They just called it something different. And let's go. The newest version will be 4th edition. All right. So Drain Life deals 1 damage to target creature or player for each black mana that you pay in addition to the casting cost. You then gain 1 life for each 1 damage dealt. You cannot gain more life than the toughness of the creature or the total life of the player Drain Life damages. So it was another burn. It was a black burn spell, but it was one of those it was one of the earliest kind of sponge decks, like sponge abilities, where you would just drain off the person, like the creature person's life total, add it to your own. I tried building a Drain Life deck. Exsanguinate, I believe, is the key one. Oh, it's still there? Okay. So yeah, Exsanguinate, I'm pretty sure is where you want to go for this ability. Let's see if I can. Exsanguinate? Did I get that right? There it is. This does the job better. It hits all of your opponents, and you gain life equal to the total life lost in this way. So yeah, Drain Life is the earliest version of cards that did this. And I would opt for Exsanguinate over Drain Life, although Drain Life does hit creatures. So there's some give and take there, but ultimately, if you're going to take the time to spend exorbitant amounts of mana, you want to be able to spend any kind of mana, and I would take this over Drain Life. So I would opt out of playing Drain Life versus other cards. And I think that there it is. We made it from Dark Ritual through Drain Life, and I'm going to wrap things up here just because, again, I don't trust the internet, and I definitely got to figure out. I think Eric, right? You're right. I got to figure out computer into some other tool. I don't know. I'll have to see. All right, so there it is. Thank you for joining me. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope it was helpful and insightful in some way. I will be doing this continually for as long as I can stand it. And right now we're at the 7th episode. So yes, like, subscribe, leave a comment. If you have any questions, hit me up on Twitter at Johnny Slivers. And thank you. Have a great day. And until next time, may your top decks be epic.